How's it going today? I'm going to talk a little bit about something that's more valuable than gold, silver, Bitcoin, crypto, stocks. A much needed commodity today is wisdom. I'm going to talk to you about how to obtain wisdom, how to maintain wisdom, and to help you to live a life that's going to be very beneficial, not only to yourself and your family, and also to this country. Facts, you generate a lot of facts, you get a lot of knowledge, and there's never been a time in history where so much information is available to the general public. I mean, I can find just about anything just by getting on the internet and Googling it. I can learn how to make just about anything. There's a lot of information out there, okay? But all knowledge is a collection of data, of facts, okay? Knowledge per se does not make a person wise, okay? There are three Hebrew words that I want to introduce you to that kind of cross over to help you understand, especially in the book of Proverbs. And Proverbs is a part of the Old Testament. It's wisdom literature, the majority of it written by Solomon, the wisest man that ever lived. He could have had anything he wanted, and he asked God for wisdom, and God gave it to him. And so he wrote a lot of proverbs, and I'll explain what a proverb is in a little bit. But there's three Hebrew words. The first one is called chokmah. Chokmah is a Hebrew word that covers a general body of wisdom, okay? It's wisdom that you gain through obedience, okay? So just kind of think about that, chokmah. And there's two other Hebrew words. One is hakam. Hakam is a kind of a practical wisdom that allows you to do the right thing at the right moment. Okay, it's more reaction to circumstances or life events. Okay, and then you have an interesting Hebrew word. It's called binah. Binah is gaining understanding between the temporal and the eternal. It's helping you to understand what is real and what is not real, what is true and what is false. Now, this is gained through a personal knowledge of God that you've obtained yourself. Okay? That's something that a lot of people lack today. They lack wisdom and knowing how to deal with life events and circumstances. That's why I watch on the news, or if I watch people interact and it's just, and I say to myself, they don't have a lot of wisdom, So and you deduct that, then therefore they're not spending time in the Word. They don't know God very well. Okay. Personally, I think a little while back in the news they made a big thing about removing Dr. Seuss. Who cares? I think it's better to introduce a child to the book of Proverbs than Dr. Seuss, or Mother Goose, because in Proverbs, what you have here, and it's very interesting, but you have a lot of different either comparisons or contrasts or repetition of sayings that is going to help a person to be wise. What is wisdom in essence? Wisdom is seeing life, circumstances, people, and individuals from God's vantage point, from His perspective. Okay? And studying Proverbs in itself won't give you wisdom. It'll give you the stepping stone to gaining wisdom. Okay? I want to explain this in a way that, because so much of it is spiritual in nature, it's different than when you go to a school and you get educated. Okay? You get a trained mind. There's nothing wrong with that, but I want to make a complete contrast between, and make it really clear between that which is education, true learning, and that which is spiritual wisdom that comes from God's eyesight. Okay? So I want to make that really clear. Okay? It's wisdom, and God says in His Word, He says, choose my instruction instead of silver, knowledge rather than choice gold. For wisdom is more precious than rubies, and nothing you desire can compare with her. Now, if that's true, then why aren't more people investing time in developing wisdom as opposed to just filling their head with knowledge? It all says in the Bible that knowledge puffs up. People tend to get arrogant, proud, and they think they know it all. And wisdom does the opposite. It makes you realize that you don't know very much. Okay, but God knows everything. Okay, and He goes on to say something very interesting. He says, I, wisdom, dwell together with prudence. That's an interesting verse, because what's happening here is they're making a personification about an idea. I, wisdom, that's a personification. Dwell, I hang out with. Okay? With prudence. What is prudence? Well, wisdom is seeing life from God's vantage point. Prudence is the ability to carry out that wisdom in your everyday life. So what's interesting about the book of Proverbs is what the author's going to do. He's going to either give a lot of quaint sayings in the second chapter. And first saying, he's going to create a lot of life circumstances, events, and situations. There's going to be 4 different people that are going to be attended to by the same circumstances. And all 4 are going to respond differently. Okay? You're going to have the naive, the fool, the scoffer, and the wise. The naive person doesn't have a standard within him to make any discernment or distinction between right and wrong. Okay? That's why he's called naive. The fool has a standard, but he places himself in a box. He has a parameter around him. Okay? Almost like, it's called peer pressure. Okay? And everything he does is confined to that one box. A scoffer, his only parameter is himself. Okay? He's autonomous. He has no regard for God, and he mocks the things of God. Okay? And then you have a wise man. And a wise man readily responds to anything God says. So you're going to have these 4 different mindsets. And what Solomon is going to do, he's going to create a scenario. And each of these persons are going to enter into that scenario. And he's going to show you how they make choices and what the consequences are. He's also going to show you how to introduce change. You have a rebellious child, you got a foolish child, you got a naive child. He's going to show you through the book of Proverbs how you can correct him, how you can help him. The only person throughout the book of Proverbs that the author gives no solution to help is the scoffer. The only thing we're to do with a scoffer is to drive them away. And this country is filled with them. I've been talking about it for years, that people need to rid themselves of scoffers, especially in this country and our leaders and everything. Because if you leave them in this country, the only thing they're going to contribute, there's only one thing, and that's a demoralizing influence wherever they're at. You want to take a good example of that? Go down to San Francisco and look at Nancy Pelosi's district. It's a disaster, okay? Yet she speaks like she's an authority and people listen and vote for her. I don't understand that, except the fact that these people are either very naive, they're either very foolish, they have gone scoffing so bad that there isn't any solution for them anymore. Okay? So, by the way, I'm on my way to go play tennis. So I had a little time to talk about this. I shared a video today about ethnocentrism. I mean, not a video, but I wrote a little devotional this morning about ethnocentrism. So I wanted to share this. It's been on my mind, and I'll talk a little bit more about it. Okay, again, those three words. You have chokmah, which is general, kind of an umbrella term of what wisdom is. Then you have aham, which is seeing and applying practical wisdom in everyday life, you know, and in everyday situation like you're going to see a lot of in Proverbs. And then you have binan. And binan comes from having a personal deep walk with God, so that you can look and you're seeing and you're evaluating things the same way God does. What an incredible gift that is for us. And we don't use it. I'm just going to show you where the embodiment of wisdom comes from, so you don't listen to superstitious things, to sorcery or other crazy, wild sources that are out there. You need to understand, let me finish with this. There's three types of wisdom. There's wisdom that comes from the world, okay? There's, which we can call earthly wisdom. There's also satanic wisdom that comes from the devil, okay? And then there's godly wisdom. You need to know the three. At least be able to recognize one from the other, okay? If you don't, you're going to get caught up in something that you may not want to, okay? So wisdom is, and there's no reason, no excuse for it, because God is showing us right here how to make that distinction, okay? Okay, I got to go play tennis. It's hot outside. It's over 100 degrees. The humidity is real hot. But this is how I keep myself in shape, and I'll get back with you all again tomorrow. Okay, God bless you all.